the
ad, right?
ad read. Not that we have to read it.
But we can. Is this recording now?
No, I haven't hit record yet.
Yes, hit record. I think that the talking smackers, as we start the recording on this,
The B-roll.
each time, whether it's B-roll or we actually just start the whole thing talking.
Bloopers. Definitely have to include that video of the bloopers. Oh, crap.
So, just to give everyone some feedback, we were running the new PodTrack P4 system, as that's what we're running now. We're running this new system, and it runs off A4 batteries. Well, yeah, that should be right. It'll last a while. 2 of them. Yeah, it went through 1.5 podcasts. So this now Josh and I both agreed that let's do podcast 4, episode 4 again because it was turning to garbage. So
It was el terrible.
What are we talking about, mate?
All right, today we're talking about wall cladding.
Oh, you didn't clap.
No, I didn't. And I didn't even do the proper intro.
You wanted to. All right, let's take it from the top, Josh.
Take from the top.
You're
Ready?
the ringleader here. hang on.
I've got the con. Got the con, folks. All right. Play that funky music, white boy. And welcome to the Constructing Art Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I am Kenny.
And today we're talking about wall cladding, folks.
I'm very excited about it. This is like what I do for a living.
Yeah, it's the bread and butter of the business.
It's
what everyone comes to us for.
MyCladders.
That's it.
Someone asked me the other day how did I come up with the name MyCladders? And I said I took my last name and just slapped clad in there.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, Myers. Yeah. Anyway,
That's it.
Work it out. Not yours, mine. MyCladders. Anyway, and they can be yours if you like. Because once they're yours, they're MyCladders. Anyway, I'm taking my hat off. Josh, kick it off, mate.
Kick it off. So today we're talking about...
Whoa. Hang on, we need to get a word from our sponsors. Looking to take your construction business to the next level? At Primal Agency, you're partnering with experts that know your business. And that's half the battle. As Australia's most trusted construction marketing team, these guys are all about evolving your business. If you're looking to scale, talk to the crew at Primal today or check out primalagency.com.au. Right, get into it.
Okay, we're back, folks. All right. So, quick recap of the profiles from our roofing episode last week.
What did we talked about all the different profiles, which is corrugated iron, trim deck, span deck, or long span. Then we had the clip lock speed deck, which is a concealed fix, low pitch roofing. Then we had some standing seam.
The standing seam, the architectural stuff, the fancy stuff.
All the stuff really that goes on your roof. A lot of those, actually all of those can be used on the walls.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about all the details of those profiles,
head back to
episode 3.
The last episode, which is going to be around here somewhere.
You've already heard it. You've already seen it.
You should have.
You
stop starting at number 4. Go back to number 1, folks.
And at that, just like, subscribe, do all the things that you do.
Yeah, that's
wherever
it.
You're listening to this and watching it.
Yeah. So on to the more sole wall cladding profiles.
Yeah.
We have...
Well, standing seam. Let's start with standing seam.
Yes, standing seam's the one that we kind of get asked to do a lot because no one really wants to do it. It seems more complex than it really is, I think.
Because people want it to look good. There's a expectation of the customer of what Colorbond has put out there. Yeah. Or not just Colorbond, but other people as well. But Colorbond has put out there to what the dream is. So people see the standing seam cladding and go, that's what I want. That's the feature wall. Like where there was a brick wall before that. This is the feature of my house. And a lot of builders have built houses with this standing seam cladding and had a really poor result. And so they're really scary to touch it because a lot of roofing companies have tried to do it because that's who puts Colorbond on houses and walls.
That's correct.
And so...
It's now been introduced into TAFE for the course for roofing.
Yeah.
Roof plumbing is now roof plumbing and cladding.
Yeah, so the cladding it's part of the roof plumbing certificate.
It's the metal roofer's responsibility to chuck the Colorbond on the wall.
Yeah. So starting with standing seam. Standing seam is what people want. It's that wide pan with the high rib that just, I'm going to use it, looks sexy. It does.
It looks pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. So there's quite a few different profiles of the standing seam, from Highland Tray, end seam. There's long line. There's max line. I'm sure there's other ones. Euroclad has their own, and in the end, they're just flat pans with a rib.
That's it.
And as long as they're prepared properly, they go in a house and they look sexy. They look great. They look beautiful, and they set the tone of a house, basically.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So from that, when we've got
we will work into interlocking panel dominion, which is the inverse of that. It's basically, instead of the ribs having the ribs popping up, it's the pan that comes out of the wall.
Yeah. So it's kind of like got shadow lines. It's flat with a shadow line.
Yeah.
So and that's used a lot. People haven't really grasped that too much for residential properties so much.
No, it's more of we've seen it more on commercial, like requested for commercial.
Yeah, you'll see it on
projects,
hospitals and schools and things. Yeah,
aged care.
And look, I don't know if that's because of, I'm not sure why that is, but essentially it's kind of like an Alucobond kind of a look, isn't it?
And that aluminium cladding type cassette.
Yeah, and Lysat does a really good job. They can do a lot of things with it. They can make different sizes, make boxes, squares.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to do that, Lysat is where you would go to get that to happen. They take drawings off a wall and they can make that sheeting as individual cassettes to turn that into like a mosaic. And
to turn it into like a kit, with alternating widths and styles. And
they're very good at that. So that's more of a manufacturer to install rather than profiles. Anyway, that's getting boring. We'll leave a link in the description for Dominion, and we'll send you all of these profiles. We'll leave a link in the description so that you can find and see the photos, whether they're on the MyCladders website or they're just somewhere else on Google, somewhere in the world.
So then you've got other sort of more commercially sort of style interlocks like Premier 300, which you'll see at a lot of Coles stores on the internals. They'll have it's the big bright red, which is not a Colorbond colour. It's a custom sort of thing for them.
Well, are you sure it's not Colorbond?
You can get it. It's Colorbond. You can get it in that colour, but it's a custom colour that they've requested. Which
you need 3 ton. You need to order 3 ton.
Which is a lot. Which is not what you're going to be ordering for your house.
No, Trent was telling me the other day because he said, do you want to get into some custom colours? And like, we don't generally do big projects that require that, like Coles, for example. Yeah. And he said 3 tons. Like,
that's a lot.
It's like 400 square meters.
Yeah, that's your whole roof plus all your walls for your entire house.
Yeah.
And then you've got C-Clad, which is similar to Premier 300, which is Lysart's version, which has got little dimples in it.
Where would you see that?
You'd see that normally on like the Safite, like if you were in BP filling your car up and you'd look up at the roof. So that's C-Clad. Then you've got Weatherline, which is kind of like a rolled weatherboard type look.
It's a Colorbond version of a weatherboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's to suit a particular market. Someone that wants the weatherboard look, however, doesn't want the maintenance. However, they're not after a high-end finish.
No, it's not easy to make it look amazing, and it's good in it can be good in small doses. But trying to do your entire house out of it is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. Look, it would serve a purpose.
Considering that it's still going to be the same sort of thing as like normal weatherboards, where you're going to have a joint. It's not made fully custom to length. I think it is only made to 8 meters. Don't quote me on that.
And look, that had a lot of issues in the past with oil canning, and they put a bunch of ribs through it to strengthen it. Look, it looks okay, and I've seen it look good in Monument Matte. So, I mean, everything looks good in Monument Matte. It's kind of just what it does. So that profile is one that's not normally used in an architectural home or a high-end, high-value homes. It's more one that's used on a shed or on, like, for people that don't want to maintain it. And it's not so much about it looking $1 million. It's more about the function.
That's it.
And that where it's down a wall where you don't see it and they don't ever want to paint it. So after that, what do we got?
Then we got the fun stuff, which are the stuff that we put out to the market.
Oh, we're getting to those. This is what I've been waiting for the whole time. I was actually thinking while we're talking that we should have led off with this stuff. Hang on, I'll record it now. You ready? batten line. I can't do that.
That's
no.
pretty-
That's really bad.
Batten line, it's 750 is what we've called it because it has a 750 mil cover.
Yeah, I changed.
Although we can
kind
kind of
of
just batten line because we can make it to suit however we want.
So what's batten line is good for covering walls, and you're wanting to get the Colorbond finish, and you're wanting this undulating pattern, kind of like putting aluminium battens on the wall.
Yeah.
And see the description down the bottom. You'll go to photos, and we've got heaps of photos. Batten line got a lot of attention at the home show. We put it on the home show, and we had Jimmy and Tam from the 2020 winners of the block. Mm-hmm. And then we had, I'm drawing a blank right now, the ones that won 2019. Now, both of them saw it, loved it, thought it was absolutely amazing, wanted to know everything about it, and we're hoping to be working with them on a project in the future. With that, batten line, though, has taken, it's a square, really very strong square sheeting, which personally I think you could put it on a roof. However, I'm not going to put it on another customer's house and say that
You can do that.
You can do that, but I'd put it on mine without any issues.
Fair enough.
But anyway, we shouldn't. You can see I'm excited about batten line.
Yeah.
So, batten line's one. It comes in a few different patterns: a 75, 50, and 25, and it comes in a 50 and a 25. So you have undulating changes of ribs. So that when you put them down a wall, you can't see a repeating pattern because there's 3 different types of sheets. And when you order a wall, you'll get one of each sheet, and then it will repeat and repeat. And when they get installed, they get put in random patterns so that you don't get any repeating.
That's it. And then panel line.
So panel line is our version of what is it? Dominion. So of interlock. So essentially, it's a sheet that's folded to be the same shape, and we can change the size of the flat section. It's up to 850 cover, 900 cover, depending on what size widths panels you have, and it's just
we kind of did it to try and expand the sheets out so they covered more wall, so that we could be installed at a much easier.
Makes it easier and cheaper. So the material, you have less material to square meter, so it brings the price down. So the install cost also comes down because you're handling wider sheets. So essentially, what panel line is a more economic version of Dominion that MyCladders has created and is available from us. You order it through MyCladders, and we can either install it, or even carpenters can install it. That's the beauty of panel line. Even batten line, our products were designed so they're simple to install. Yeah. And we've worked with builders that love it. They just use it, and it's easy. We put panel line on a shed in Whedon, actually.
Was it Tambourine?
Yeah, Tambourine. And we'll put some photos in. You can be able to see that. We put that on the shed. We didn't install it. We just gave them the sheets. They installed the whole lot. They asked us some advice with the flashings. Yeah. And it came out looking $1 million. Looks brilliant. And I mean, I'd be putting that on a shed. And that was in a funny colour too. So
I think it was June.
Yeah. And it was on the golf course. So they wanted to make it look nice.
Fair enough.
So it didn't look like an old beaten up shed. They wanted it to look like an extension of the house, and then they went on and they're using the same sheeting on the house itself.
Oh, cool.
So yeah. So
that's it. So like maintenance wise, using Colorbond as wall cladding, the maintenance is a lot less. You don't have to paint it every five or so years. Yeah. When it starts looking old and ratty and.
Well, compared to, say, for example, and this is what's happened in the industry, a lot of weatherboards, when people look at them, go see weatherboards or Axon cladding, they think it's timber, but it's not. It's fibre cement. Yeah. And fibre cement sucks in a lot of moisture, and it also sucks in a lot of the paint, and then it flakes off the top. So I don't know exactly what it does, but it does change. You've got to put a lot of paint on it. Where in the past you'd put maybe 2, maybe 3 coats of paint on it. To get a really good result, you kind of need 4 or 5. And then you're looking at 10, you might get 10 years out of it. It's hard to clean. So when it comes to Colorbond cladding, using any of these profiles, essentially you may need to wash it down depending on surrounding environment. You may need to wash it down, though you don't need to paint it.
No.
And
You get those, get rid of all the dirt. It'll wash away.
yeah, I went past a house that I did 15, 16 years ago that still looks great. Like the house looks like it's older because of the style of the house. You can tell it's a 15, 16-year-old house, but the Colorbond still looks really good. So it's a really low maintenance product. Bit of a water blast every now and then.
That'll take care of it.
But everything's going to need that, not just Colorbond.
Yeah, so now we get to the part of the podcast that everyone kind of likes, the stories.
Well, we're assuming that people like, because this is only...
This is true. This is only episode 4. We're just assuming that you like hearing about stories. So you actually you can actually go out and go and think about when you're driving down the road, you can look at it and go, oh yeah, so that's how that was done. Or that's how they achieved that kind of look.
So what story you got? Because nothing's coming to my brain because they're all great stories.
The main story that I can think of is how we turned that house in Chandler, well not Chandler, in Chermside, into giving it that the
container look.
The container look, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Instead of having to build a container house, they didn't want to have to go through all that rigmarole. They just wanted their house to look like that. So we used matte. Was it matte monument or just monument?
It was just normal
just
monument.
normal monument trim deck, and just installed big, chunky, boxy looking flashings to make it look like that.
100 by 100 flashings, big, chunky flashings. And it certainly achieved what they were looking for. It had I didn't have a lot to do with that one.
No.
That was, you worked with the guys on site and the owners. The people came to us from the home show. So the process of that job, they came to us and said, look, we've got roofs. We didn't do the roofing on that, did we? They had their own roofers. However, they weren't... The roofers quoted to do the job, and they were going to do the job. However, the owners weren't confident that the
result they wanted.
Yeah, because they really wanted this. So this chunky container. So we went through and designed what we needed to do. They told us what we want, and essentially the flashings that I have on my place is how we did the flashings on that place. And Kane, who was working for us at the time, did the install, and it came up looking great.
Yeah.
And that's just from a bit of thought, and the owner actually saying this is what we want, not just saying I want a trim deck thing, and going through, and that makes a huge difference. So if you're wanting to achieve a certain thing, for example, you're wanting a quote for wall cladding, you go onto the MyCladders website, you go request a quote wall cladding. You've got an opportunity of uploading photos. So go through all of Google, however, I do all my searching on Google, but it might be Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, wherever you get your photos and your inspiration from, and screenshot those and add them as files to there, so that when we see it, we actually understand what you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, we're just going to do what we do.
Yeah, and that may not be what you want.
Yeah. So a lot of, for example, the house that we did, which House of the Year 2022, which was Ballada Street in the Gap for Paula and Matt, we turned up there and they didn't even know that they wanted wall cladding until I told them that they should really wall clad their house in standing seam. They had leaking gutters. So that was, as a bit of a horror story, hero story, that house was really, really ugly. It was covered in asbestos sheeting, and it looked like it needed to be ripped down to a certain extent. It was solid. There was nothing wrong with the house. It was solid. It had an old standing seam style roof on it that was, I don't know, 1 point something mil thick. It was really, really thick roofs. It's got surface rust on it. Though to do the cladding, we had to go through and batten it all out, and we had to put the battens through the asbestos, which was fine because we did it in a certain way of doing it that would contain any dust that came through, which we did that very successfully, and we've done that a number of times since. And we installed the standing seam over the top and completely transformed the house from being that ugly 60s home that never was done properly in the first place into this beautiful architectural home that it was always meant to be. And if you watch the video on that, you'll know what I'm talking about, how we can transform from one thing to another thing. And that's what cladding can do. That's what I really get excited about, and where we're moving MyCladders as a business. I know this is a constructing art podcast that we're trying to educate people with different things in regards to Colorbond and building their homes and what can be done with it. What, as a company, MyCladders, we're trying to construct art.
Yeah, that's our whole thing.
Yeah. So when we're doing facelifts for people, we're turning it from something that they're really unhappy with into something that they just love coming home to every single day. So that's really the beauty. And you can, when I turn up and I talk to people, if they recommend, say they have a house and they say, oh, I want to put weatherline on there, I'll just straight up say that is not going to look very good. I'll do it for you, but I cannot guarantee that it'll look good. And then it's on them. And most of the time people go, oh, really?
Yeah.
And we never hear from them again. So I kind of probably cut my own hands off in that. But we don't want to do things if we don't know that we can make it look good.
Yeah,
So-
well, if we can't make it look good, then it's going to be a terrible result for you in the end, and you're going to have a bad experience.
And we don't want that. We only
Yeah.
want 5-star reviews. So we only want 5-star customers.
That's it. It's not really we want 5-star customers.
No, essentially.
We want to. You may hate us at the end when we've done everything because it's taken forever to get the job done. But at the end of the day, you're going to come home and see something that you love.
Mate, you nailed it. You nailed it. You're just right there. You don't need to say anything else. That you've absolutely put it down in its place. You may hate us in the process because of how long it takes to get the job done, but the end result is what we're doing it for. So we're not doing it for a relationship with the customer. Well, we'd like that, and that would be great.
Yeah.
But we're doing it for that end result, that the customer gets to come home to their beautiful result. And sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but you nailed it.
And with that, folks, we're going to leave you. Next week, we're going to be talking about some well, it's kind of boring stuff.
What is it?
It's, how to design roofs a lot better. How to make sure everything meets code. How to properly insulate your roof.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll make it fun. I'll just be silly.
Common architectural mistakes.
Come back next week if you want to hear Kenny being an idiot. Pretty much. I want to hit this button. Which does C?
That's the crowd. The crowd cheering you on, mate.
Woo, stop it. Stop it. All right, here we go.
That's the one.
All right, lend us out. You
This guy.
finish it up. You ready? Finish it up with
All
some
right, guys.
funky tracks.
Tune in next week to the Constructing Art podcast, where we're going to teach you stuff about roofing, cladding, and constructing your work of art. See you, folks.
Well done.
Oh, you're going to use the blower to blow these bad boys on me?